And then you go through a data harmonizing process. What I mean by this is the following. Think of a single product. Think of all the reports from Amazon or Walmart that contain information or data on that single product. You want to get a 360-degree view of what is going on with that product. You have to stitch together a lot of pieces. That stitching together is called data harmonizing, right? Today's topic has been near and dear to me throughout my career. Prior to starting Intentwise, I ran the data and online marketing teams at one of the largest consumer internet companies, Orbitz, the online travel company, which got bought by Expedia. A lot of learnings from there have dialed forward into what we are seeing today and how we think about our product and the investments we make. What I want to do today is begin with about 4 to 5 fundamental, call them pressures or trends that are impacting how brands and agencies should be thinking about or rethinking their data stack. And then we'll get into specifics on that topic. And drop your questions along the way. Happy to answer. But let's dive in. Number one, I think we're all familiar with this, which is Amazon. And not just Amazon, just all channels are sharing more data than ever before. And all kinds of data, batch data, hourly data, clean room data. I saw that Instacart launched their clean room very recently. Amazon did launch their clean room, Amazon Marketing Cloud, almost 2.5-3 years ago. But the fact is that you have more signals than you have ever had at your disposal. And I would assume most of you agree to, if I were to say we are really like data rich and insight poor in a lot of cases. The second thing I want to point out is that as brands as well as agencies, there is an extreme emphasis on profitability and efficient growth right now. Some of it is driven by macro factors, but also a lot of the brands have private equity ownership at this point. And so how do you have a dialed in view of efficiency and profitability if you do not connect what I'm showing here as we think about like 5 types of data? One is advertising, retail, which is sales, inventory, pricing, promo, so on and so forth. Shopper intelligence, a dialed-in view on exactly who the shopper is, what path are they taking. Amazon Marketing Cloud is a source of that. Competitive intelligence. But all those 4 buckets of data have to be infused with the brand's own specific data set, starting with unit costs. Without that, you won't understand profitability. Product categorizations, and the list goes on and on. Unless you bring these 5 pieces together, you don't really have a comprehensive understanding of performance of the channel or any specific product. So this has become even more important now. The third trend is this idea of emerging channels and blurring lines. Every brand I talk to is thinking about TikTok. The question that comes up is, hey, the activity on TikTok, how is that influencing performance on Amazon? Shopify and Amazon lines are blurring. You've got folks buying ads on Google and Meta and sending to Amazon. The point is there's emerging channels, and then you've got ChatGPT ads, which are coming soon. There's emerging channels and there's lines that are blurring between them. Increasingly, there's questions about cross-channel impacts. And you have to have a data stack that allows you to do that very easily. What's happening with Amazon Marketing Cloud, any conversation about data, certainly in the Amazon realm, is incomplete without talking about Amazon Marketing Cloud. It got released a few years back. There is still a prevailing narrative that AMC is just for advertising optimization. The fact of the matter is, though, if you look at the signals in AMC has moved far beyond just using it for Amazon ad optimization. You've got 5 years of detailed shopper level purchase data. You can do you can understand a lot more things about your channel, and so you would be, call it, under leveraging or under appreciating the power of AMC if all you thought of is, hey, it's just for ad optimization. And then the last point I want to make, this is probably the most transformative thing that is happening at the moment, is AI is making everything we do with data much, much easier than ever before. I think very soon we'll be in a situation where every one of you, whether you're a brand or an agency, I know there's a mix of the audience, you perhaps most likely will have some sort of AI tools internally, and you will be doing all kinds of things, asking questions, building dashboards on the fly, building apps on the fly. But how do you have the right underlying data for all of that to actually be useful to you? So these are the 5 key things that are impacting how we should rethink what our data stack looks like. And if I were to just summarize what would be an ideal end state, and it doesn't matter whether you're a brand or an agency, just a quick rundown. having advertising and retail data sets combined and integrated views at your fingertips, understanding cross-channel impacts very quickly, the ability to troubleshoot and diagnose performance problems. One of your top products is underperforming. Do you take a week to figure out what's going on, or do you take 5 minutes, or do you know that instantly? Mechanisms to answer ad hoc questions. Ad hoc questions range from, hey, what should my budget be for next year? Or what is the incrementality of this ad spend? If I had about $100,000 more, where should I really deploy it? That's what I mean by ad hoc, incisive questions. Of course, you want the ability to leverage what AMC can do for you easily. And we'll talk about challenges with it and how to address them later on in the presentation. And last but not least, you are going to continue to expand your agentic capability, and it's going to get commoditized quite a bit. So that is bound to happen. This is your ideal end state. If you had all of these pieces in place, I'd like to say you would have data superpowers. Okay? But how do we get there? Let me walk you through a bit of an evolution on how the data stacks has evolved. But first, we have this idea of a data supply chain. How does data flow? And by the way, this picture has remained the same forever and probably will remain the same going forward too, which is data goes through these stages. You spend a lot of time collecting data. You then ingest, if you're a brand, you ingest your own specific nuances into that data. Again, sub-brands, product categorizations, brand versus non-brand terms, unit costs, all of those things. And then you go through a data harmonizing process. What I mean by this is the following. Think of a single product. Think of all the reports from Amazon or Walmart that contain information or data on that single product. You want to get a 360-degree view of what is going on with that product. You have to stitch together a lot of pieces. That stitching together is called data harmonizing, right? And then when you have those three pieces down and nailed, then you go build your visualizations, also called dashboards in most places, and potentially build out applications and do advanced analysis. This is a typical data supply chain. What did we do so far, at least until 6 months ago? This is what a typical data stack looked like. You spent a lot of time collecting data, pushed it into a data store. You probably have some sort of reporting tools, Tableau, Power BI, Looker, Click, Excel. You built out dashboards primarily designed by and developed for people who had domain expertise in their minds. So that's what we lived through for quite some time. Specifically, there's a couple of areas that just are bottlenecks, okay? I put a couple of stars on them. The bottlenecks are the following. The data we collect is so fragmented and then APIs change so much that data collection, the bottommost block, data collecting, harmonizing, and then ingesting your own data nuances into that data consume a ton of time. Okay? If you're someone that is collecting, let's say, Amazon data, Amazon Ads API have changed 12 times in the last 12 months, and they introduce new things. The upkeep of that is really painful. Okay, and then the other bottleneck we find in today's data stacks is dashboards. I very rarely run into a company that tells me they have every dashboard that they need and they're very happy. That is never the case. There's always something missing. The queue of building dashboards is long. You may or may not have resources. So you feel like you're never able to get past those blind spots or get to a view that a client is asking for that you can answer a question quickly. There is just always a gap. Okay? The other thing is, like, with these cross-channel impacts and effects are very hard to understand unless you stitch them together. And then clean rooms, AMC, just has a very different way of operating that does not align with the traditional data stack at all. And we'll get into that nuance shortly. But these were the challenges. What was one of the first things we all collectively did? We said, you know what? I don't want to be in the data collection business. And so third parties like Intentwise are taking that pain off your table, and we today collect, harmonize, and ingest your specific data, and we are piping data for hundreds of brands and agencies today. So that was step one. A good step, because this approach is much more cost and time effective. But you still had the pain around dashboards. Building dashboards takes a lot of time. So here is where a rapid evolution has begun over the last 6 to 9 months. So we now have moved from this traditional stack to this new stack where reporting tools like Tableaus and Power BIs have been replaced with AI development tools that are integrated with large language models. And because of that, what we are able to build is not just static dashboards in a Power BI or a Looker, but much more interactive, actionable applications. But the most important point to be made is all this is happening very, very rapidly. What we have really collapsed because of AI is the path from, hey, I want this view that combines, let's say, Amazon and Walmart this certain way, and I want this chart and a widget. All that can be specified, and you have a working dashboard in a matter of a day or 2 days max. So timelines have dramatically collapsed because of this new stack. I'll give you quickly run through some examples of visuals we are able to build and launch like in a matter of days, sometimes within a day. Okay, let me run through some examples. So here is, and I talk about integrating advertising and retail. Here is a one-piece specific view that combines advertising and retail data. It's just a subset of a dashboard I'm showing you. We could do this very quickly, and more importantly, you may be a brand or an agency that says, I don't want those widgets, I don't like this chart. All those changes can be made very, very quickly. Okay. And so because of that, we have launched a massive library of slick looking dashboards, and that list continues to expand. Here is a view that we are working through that combines Amazon, Shopify, TikTok into a single view. Again, envisioning and build out has become dramatically easy. Of course, this is only possible if you are collecting the underlying data and harmonizing it. That's what makes this possible from on the AI layer. But yeah, this is very easy to get to now. Here is a set of views we launch for advertising audits. If your agency is in the room, you're probably auditing accounts all the time, even as part of your prospecting and sales process. We have built out these views that reflect these audits, but you can go get custom audit views built very quickly because of this new stack. Here are some views on top of Amazon Marketing Cloud where we are able to, this was an ask from a customer. They wanted to see what is the customer lifetime value difference between people that were acquired during a promotional period versus a non-promotional period. We can quickly author queries and build dashboards in a matter of a few hours. And then here's an interesting one. So this is a view where it is showing you the number of shoppers that have abandoned your funnel by product. So ASINs on column 1, you can see detailed page views, reviews, add to cart, so on and so forth. What's interesting is that now we can move from dashboards that are static to making them actionable. So you can get to a place where I select some products, I can choose what specific audience to create and actually go create audiences and push into sponsored ads or DSP. So the point is better looking, highly interactive, actionable, but more importantly, very customizable and can be built very quickly. That's where we are with dashboards. And I no longer will call them dashboards. They're really applications. Now, like I said before, conversation about data without talking about AMC is incomplete. So I'm going to spend a couple of minutes talking about AMC. AMC launched 2-3 years ago, and Amazon definitely pushes that to all of us. But the reality is most brands and agencies dramatically underleverage AMC today. And there's some valid reasons for this. So here's just kind of our take. Awareness is a huge problem. A lot of folks don't fully understand what is inside AMC. And so how can you leverage it? That's a problem. Data complexities. If you're dealing with a slightly larger brand, let's say with a large catalog, you've got your own product and campaign taxonomy. What I mean by that is, you've got product categorizations that are specific to that brand or advertiser. You have structured your campaigns a certain way. All that metadata is very hard to combine into outputs from AMC. Okay, and so the larger a brand gets, the larger a catalog gets, getting insights out starts to get more and more challenging. You also have to have the right tech stack. Like, can you schedule queries from AMC? Can I pipeline the data into my system so I can integrate AMC outputs into my reporting systems? There's a bunch of aspects to having the right tech stack around AMC to get the most value. And the last one is customization. With AMC, yes, you can build out fancy charts, but a large part of value from AMC comes from you asking very unique questions specific to your business. And by the way, the most valuable questions don't have a canned chart waiting for you. They have to be custom built. So the ability to custom build is a huge gap for people today. Now, I want to touch on the tech stack. I'm going to get in the weeds a little bit. Like, what do you need to have in place to get real value from AMC? Now, some of these components you can get it from a third party, however you do it, but wherever you get it from, here is the components of what makes AMC work. So you need a mechanism to ingest every brand's custom data into AMC as custom uploads. You have to have a solid query and audience library, which, by the way, can be scheduled. Also, you need to have error handling baked in. I can't tell you the number of times you query AMC and it fails. So you have to have error handling baked in. Once you have all of that, you need an ability to push your audiences to sponsored ads and DSP, good slick dashboards, and if your agencies, white label reporting. And then in some cases where the need is a bit more sophisticated, an ability to extract data out of AMC and put them in your systems. Ultimately, this is the right tech stack for you to get value out of AMC. On the note about AMC, just to summarize, I would invest a lot of time in just education. You're educating yourself on what AMC is because it's not going away. Amazon is making it the center of measurement, and I'm not going to say ad measurement because it's no longer just about ads. Point number 2 is once you understand, by the way, when I say education, there's a couple of ways to do it. Amazon has a fantastic AMC certification course. You should get all your employees, well, at least some of you, get certified. You'll fail a couple of times, but that's okay. You'll learn along the way. And once you do that, that's what leads to an ability to know what questions can you ask. And I call that a roadmap. It doesn't have to be complicated. Maybe 5 to 7 to 10 questions where you say, hey, if we answered those, this could be super interesting and impactful, whether for your brand or for your clients. You have to address this issue of bespoke needs because that's a reality you have to live with. You have an interesting question, you'll have to be able to go author that query and get the answer. Investing in some SQL training internally, very valuable. Then lastly, just operationalizing the right tech stack is critical. I'm not saying you need to have all of these on day one, but start that process. So I want to go back to this tech stack evolution. I talked about how we got here already. This is not future state. We are already here. What we expect to see in the next 6 to 9 months is that you will see more and more agents show up. Agents to do different things. You will have an agent that does account audits. You may have agents that go make some changes to your campaigns. You may have agents that run incrementality analysis. But this is the future state we are moving towards. And one very critical point I want to make is that so far we have lived in the world where expertise was in our minds. Specific example, if you want to troubleshoot an account's performance, there is probably a structured hierarchical analysis tree you go through in your mind. And for some scaled agencies, you probably have a standard operating procedure you expect your teams to follow. Okay? Now, as teams grow large, there'll be inconsistencies in whether people follow that or not. The foundational shift that is happening is that all that expertise can now be baked into the systems themselves. So you can do things like go run me an audit, go do this analysis for me. That's where we are headed. If you look at LinkedIn over the last 2 weeks, there's a lot of chatter about this concept of skills that Claude introduced, Claude from Anthropic. The idea there is that more and more of that domain expertise and the thinking workflow, thought workflow will get embedded in the systems so that the systems can get more and more intelligence. That is what we are moving towards. And I want to reiterate the point that no matter how cool your AI gets, how fancy this ecosystem gets, the value you can extract from it is directly tied to the quality of the underlying data. Is it comprehensive? Is it connected? Can I rely on it? Plus, what I call a semantic layer, which is an explanation of that data so that LLMs can understand what the data means. By the way, when I say knowledge layer, it doesn't have to be something cryptic and fancy. It could be documents where you're capturing what you are doing today and the decisions you're making, because those can be fed into these LLM models going forward. So I think we are almost already at a place where we'll no longer say dashboard. So we are going to say interactive, actionable applications and then agents. That is how we as end users will be interacting with the data stack going forward. So what do you do now? What should you all do now? Number one, own your data. The number of times I get into conversations where, whether it's an agency or a brand, let's take a brand, you're working with service providers, your data sits in their systems, You change a service provider, you lose data. Please do not be in that position. It's a business risk for you. If there are such situations right now, go back and address them. Now, the data you collect, keep it comprehensive and connected. Okay. In terms of investment, and this is a great opportunity to build on employee morale and all of that, make learning around AMC and AI part of their learning and development plan for 2026. Data plus knowledge is the go forward Gen AI superpower. Now, most of us are not going to build the next LLM. We don't need to. But what you can control is the quality of data and knowledge capture of what represents your business today. Because when you put those two together, you will get a lot more value out of what I see as a commoditized set of AI capabilities that are coming at you at dropping prices. And last but not least, definitely operationalize the right tech stack. The question is like, how is Intentwise helping? We are excited, to be honest, to be part of this transformative time and ecosystem. And here is, from a tech perspective, here is what we are doing today. Number one, I think many of you are already our clients for some of this stuff, but we have automated the data collection of all kinds of data sources: Amazon, Walmart, Instacart, Criteo. We are excited to report that we also have Shopify. TikTok ads is already there. TikTok Shop, we are waiting for approval on their app. So TikTok is coming very soon. And Google and Meta are also become part of our core data foundation. Part of the Intentwise core is not just the data foundation. We now have a AI development engine that sits on top of that data. And here's the 5 ways we are helping you. And we can help you in one or more ways. There is a number of you today that we are delivering reliable data pipes already. Expect those data pipes to get more and more intelligent as we go forward. There's a whole bunch of pre-built visualizations. I mean, if your agency is in the room, imagine the idea of a white labeled portal that says analytics.youragencyname.com. You pick the dashboards you want to show your clients, and they can access it, all this in a matter of days. And if you're a brand, there's a ton of use cases already solved for, but I'm sure there'll be custom needs and things like that. Historically, one of the things that has happened with SaaS companies like ours is we shunned customization. We ran away from customization. But AI has changed the unit economics of customization. So we today are leaning into customization. Okay? And so that's the third component, which is you want to build out a stack and visuals that are very specific to your business. Happy to do so, whether you're an agency or a brand. The fourth piece which we are working on, we call it Intentwise MCP. MCP stands for Model Control Protocol. In the AI world, that is, think of it in a simple way to think about it, is that is the equivalent of APIs. So imagine a situation where you're going to have Claude as your internal tool that you're using. Now you want Claude to go get some pieces of data, which by the way, Intentwise is capturing. You can use that Intentwise MCP to go grab that data from Intentwise in your AI system. Or you may want us to do a certain task, such as go run some incrementality modeling and get back with results. Intentwise MCP is that interface between both our agents and your agents to the underlying data. And last but not least, smart applications. So we already have applications and we are adding more to them. But in the list of smart applications, many of you are familiar with our ad optimizer, which is a sponsored ads and DSP ad optimization platform. And this is continuing to get better and better because it's increasingly powered off of the e-commerce data and knowledge foundation. So it's been around a while. Number 2, we built Intentwise Explore, which is a solution on top of AMC to address the challenges I was talking about. We actually co-developed this with Amazon, and we have pretty sophisticated capabilities all the way from, extensive audience and query libraries, scheduling queries, building custom queries, uploading your first-party data, uploading your media and product taxonomies. Those are all baked into Intentwise Explore. The single biggest objective with Intentwise Explore is how do we help you get a lot more out of AMC than you are doing today. And then the last component here, which is we're very excited about, it's in beta. It's called Product 360. It was envisioned and built to solve a core problem we saw many of you have, which is you've got a catalog of products and one of the products starts underperforming. And you're trying to figure out why. Is it a buy box issue? Is it an inventory issue? Is it a price change issue? Is it an ad issue? All that takes a lot of time. So what we have done is, because of the extensive nature of the signals we are collecting, we now automatically detect those anomalies, both good and bad anomalies, and we go identify the key drivers of those anomalies, so you don't have to waste your time trying to figure this out. So we are shortening that time, diagnostics time for you. It's called Product 360. Happy to get you guys all in, get you in the beta if you're interested. But this is what makes up our smart apps. And so, yeah, so this is how we help. And by the way, on customizations, whether it's AMC queries or dashboards or what have you, we are here to support you with that. That's it. We can get into Q&A. Potential next steps for whoever wants to learn or do more. You could schedule a free consultation so we can evaluate your data stack and come up with recommendations and or do a product demo. So here's a quick poll. Whoever is interested, respond to this. But in the meantime, we are happy to dive into questions.
Any questions you guys might have, you can use either the chat module or the Q&A module on your side, and we will make sure we touch on any of those. And while people are throwing those questions in there, I would just add is if you have questions as you start going through and exploring some of the things that Sreenath touched on today, always feel free to reach out to us with those questions, and we're more than happy to help past this time as well. One question that we got here, does Intentwise capture gross and net margin profitability?
Yes, we do. And we can walk you through the math that is going behind profitability determination. Happy to reconnect offline and get into details.
I would say the other thing that we're doing to help there is, I think we touched on data enhancement at one point, and one of the ways we do that is allowing brands to upload their own product cost into Intentwise so that you can get a full view of profit, taking your cost of goods into account.
From our perspective, for what it's worth, we are super excited about continuing to bridge this cross-channel gap as well. So you'll hear a lot from us around TikTok and Shopify and Google and Meta over the next 3 to 4 weeks. So keep an eye out on that.
All right. And I want to make mention, maybe while I speak, some more questions will pop up, but quick plug before you hop. Our next webinar is January 29th, and it's on TikTok Shop. It's all the buzz right now. So how to set up your brand up for success on TikTok Shop. That's with our guest, I should say, Karina McLeod. She's the founder of E-Commerce Nurse. We'll cover content strategy, creators and affiliate, ads, live shopping, and common pitfalls. So the link to register is in the chat. We'll also follow up with it in today's recording. So we'll give another opportunity for any questions that might pop up. It for today. Want to thank you all again for joining, and a huge thanks to Sreenath and Kenton. We will catch you guys at the next webinar. Thank you for joining. Take care.